Okay, so let me know when
Well,
it's ready.
welcome to, sorry, I'll start again. Um, Welcome to our podcast for the Impact Economy Summit. I'd like to welcome Warren to Brugge.
Well, thank you for having me, Tammy. Looking forward to it and just can't wait for the summit in October as well. So this is a great way to kind of preview and get into the energy of it all.
Absolutely. So I've got a little warm-up question for you, Warren.
Okay.
Are you concerned about the state of the world today?
Absolutely. And really, I wouldn't say that I'm concerned about the state of the world today. I'm more concerned about the state of the world in what it will be in the near future because of where it is today.
Okay. And do you think we can turn things around?
Sorry, I missed that question there.
Do you think that we can turn things around?
I really do. I wrote an article at one time a while back. I asked the question. It's amazing how many responses I got. It was a blog posting to, do you think you can change the world? And it was interesting to see how people responded. But what really came through was that really any of us can change the world because it's the butterfly effect, right? There may be a bunch of people doing something, but it takes that one extra person to do it, that it suddenly becomes a movement and suddenly becomes something that is extremely impactful. So yes, I believe we can change it, and I believe that each one of us as individuals can change the world.
Yes, wonderful. And how do we do that?
You know, how we do that is by taking action. A lot of people do a lot of talking, and talking is really good and interesting, but that's really what it is. It's interesting. What is meaningful and what contributes is when people actually do things. And it's when people do things that are very, off the cuff and on the spur of the moment, and they just go for it and take the risk of failing. And you learn so much, and yet there's so many times that risk pays off and people's lives are affected.
Wonderful. And what are some of the questions that you think we should ask ourselves?
You know, a lot of us talk about a sharing economy, and a lot of people talk about that there should be equality, and what those things are, and what they should be. And yet there are so many people that are not willing to give up their ownership. We have created a sense of ownership over centuries that we're not quite willing to put aside and look for something different. And that's a risk that we all need to take, that there is something more for each of us if we are truly willing to share ourselves and what we have, both internally and as tangible things. And it's the risk of not knowing that so many of us are not willing to take. And yet the really strange thing is that we're worried about losing, yet the opportunity to gain is so massive because it's something that we share. And a lot of people will say, oh, that's a communist or socialist thought. But the answer is it's not. It's a human evolution thought in my mind, and where we need to get to prove that we truly are human.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for that. That's very powerful. Now, let's dive a little bit into the role that you're playing at the summit. Can you just share a little bit about what you're doing with the Impact Economy Summit?
Well, I'm the chief cook and bottle washer, and besides that, I'm also doing the facilitation and helping, working with Art. In fact, Art and I will be doing the facilitation together, and I'm really looking forward to that. Very, very excited about it. Every time I speak to Art, I get these cold shivers down my spine because the guy is just brilliant, and I really enjoy the conversations. But really looking forward to it because the energy that's assembled and the energy that's coming out of each of the individuals and their little comments and their postings and the things that people are saying, this is, as you can see, I'm excited. I cannot wait to get into the room with all of these amazing people.
Mm-hmm. And what are your hopes for the summit?
You know, my hopes are that what we all truly take away from this as a group, a collaborative group, and I'll define collaboration. You know, to me, collaboration is my willingness to achieve your goals, even at the expense of my own goals, and being willing to do that selflessly and knowing in my heart that you're willing to do the same thing for me. And to me, that's the definition of collaboration. It's not that we intentionally go in and give up on it. It's that we're to a point where, wait, I've got a decision to make. I can keep going at my own goals, or I can actually help you achieve yours. What's my decision point? And my decision point should be achieve yours and then get back to mine. And that's, to me, collaboration. So when I look at that, the outcomes that I'm looking for is for us to take action, to really start doing things, to take the risks, to prove the models that we're talking about and that we've theorized, and taking them into an environment where we're truly at ground zero, where we have nothing to start from. There is no leg up on what we're about to do, particularly in the community of Brugge.
Yes, that's awesome. Can you give us a little bit of your background and the work that you've done in the world that's brought you to this?
Well, you know, my background is very diverse, and I've been very, very fortunate in my life to have some amazing opportunities put in front of me. I've had the opportunity to do work in over 40 countries. And so it's really, I've always considered myself a citizen of the world. And so it's really put me in that space to be able to really help to see and understand other cultures. And what was amazing in all of my experiences is that when it comes down to it, we all want the same thing. We all want to be loved. We all want to be able to survive in a way that is good and that people are treated well. And you know, we all say it differently because we've got different languages and cultures, but when it comes down to it, we want the same things. And so the work that I've had and the opportunity I've had to work internationally and in, you know, sustainability, for want of a better term, it's such a cliche, but really it's resiliency, and how do you create resiliency in the organizations and the cultures that you work in. And the work that I've been able to do and been afforded to be able to do in the particularly in the community development stuff is just, that's the work I absolutely love to do. And you know, I've always done it in some fashion through my life, and doing it the way I'm doing it now and the way I'm getting to do it now is just amazing. So I am a citizen of the world. I look to how do I collaborate to contribute, and how do I do that in a way where the people and the life that's involved comes from a place of equality and inclusiveness.
Can you just share one quick specific project that you've been involved in?
Wow. Well, seeing as we're focusing on Brugge, I'll talk about Brugge. And the Brugge project we've been involved in for 6 years now. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 6 years now. Wow, time flies. And you know, this is a project that is really near and dear to me, because it is one where the person that approached me, Keith, whom you're all going to meet, talking about the work that I was doing, and he just wrote me a letter, and I still have it actually, that said to me, this is my experience, this is what's happened to me, to help my community. And we got in the car the next day and we drove to his community and haven't stopped driving since.
Great. So what's the project do?
So the project is about creating value where there really isn't any value, by first addressing the basic needs in the community. So we're looking at it from an education perspective, from a leadership development perspective, from looking at addressing food security needs, to water and sanitation, and then building infrastructure around healthcare and things like that. But at the same time, really empowering women to take the lead and to really make this happen. So you know, the project has a very strong focus on girls in the Girl Stuff program, as well as, I say, food, infrastructure, and education.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that work.
Well, I'm grateful to be able to do it.
So how do you see the work that you do kind of interacting with others and other projects that are coming to the Impact Economy Summit?
Well, I think that, you know, the experiences that I've had give me a level of insight, not an absolute insight, but certainly a level of insight to look at things and to ask the right questions. And if there's one thing that I've learned to do, it is to figure out, so what are the right questions? I don't have the answers, but I do know the questions. And what I found in working in community is by asking the right questions, and by right, I mean appropriate questions for the circumstances, is it's allowed communities to really take hold of their own destiny, to take that leadership role and facilitate the changes themselves, where I really am a partner and a facilitator. I look at them as family. Always, you know, the promise I make in going into communities is I promise to do nothing for you, but I will do. And that, I think, is really key, is that people understand that this is not about building monuments. This is not about going in and doing something. This is about going in and engaging and participating and working alongside people, not above them, not behind them, but alongside them, so that they understand that you're of value, just like you are. You're no different than them.
Yes. So what are some of the challenges that you're looking to solve personally, and that you're hoping that the impact economy can help to move us towards?
Well, one of the biggest challenges we find in communities, in particularly rural communities and in developing countries, is you don't have any leverage in terms of any value to leverage from. And so what I'm looking for is, how do we create currency from within individuals, from within a community, and that currency through its multiplicity, in other words, and how it duplicates across both the community members and other communities and connects them, creates value that is in continuous movement. In other words, it's a flow. The biggest challenge I see with our current economic system is that value is stored and therefore removed from the ability to be able to create change and to create support. And what we want to do is create flow, but starting with, how do we create that value? And that's what I see is so important in what we're doing in this discussion in the impact economy, is to look at it to say, so how do we create that value? How do we get that value to actually move, and for people to take a hold of that and understand that they do have value, and therefore intrinsic in the system, value will continue to be generated and to flow as people either gain more skills or participate more or introduce other people into the programs.
One of the things that I love is the opportunity to really build the constructs of a people-centered economy. What would a people-centered economy look like? And I think that that's a very powerful place for us to think into as a community and as a group.
Well, and it brings into that, you know, people-centered is really important, as is a place-based economy. Because when you combine the two of those, you understand that, one, you're creating the value within individuals, but because it's place-based, you are also understanding that the circumstances with which you're dealing are very specific to the community that you're in, or the environment that you're in. And although they may be similar in another community, they're not the same. And therefore, it allows you to really understand that if you focus on the people-centered value, then you can cross any environment, but you have to do that first.
Yes, absolutely. So what are some of the questions that you would like to ask and have answered at the summit?
You know, it's some of probably the big questions that I have are, how do you see the person versus see the attributes of a person? And how is that embodied in a system? And why I say that is, so often we see the characteristics of a person and judge them based on the characteristics that we're presented with, rather than seeing the energy of who the person is and that person has, and then using their characteristics to describe who they are in terms of where they are. But the value in first, then we can truly create an economy based on the value of individuals. But if we judge the person first, then we will be in exactly the same system that we're in now, which is one that is highly discriminating and in fact excludes a very large group of people. So what I'm looking to do is, how do you create a system that recognizes the value of individuals, whatever that value is, and then how do you get that value to flow? And so in the context of what we're doing at the summit, the question I ask is, how do you create that value? How do you get people to see the person so that you see what they have to offer?
Fantastic. And so this is a really hard question. What work are you most looking forward to connecting with at the summit?
The work that I'm really looking forward to connecting with is that the ability to bridge the work on the ground with the theoretical and technical constructs of what an economy or a currency is. And so, getting to meet people that have had the experience on the ground or in implementing technology to understand how you create that bridge. And we know that it's the communication that's missing, and it's that flow of communication that halts the system. The moment that communication stops, it dies. And so what I'm most excited about is seeing how we facilitate energizing that communication and that information flow.
And what are the actions that you're hoping will come out of the summit? What are the outcomes we're aiming for?
Well, one, define the feasibility study that we're doing around, and then having the information to develop the actual business plan, but really defining and taking the action to perform the feasibility study so that we can design the implementation, the project to actually implement a system. And so my outcomes are very action-based. I don't need to plan it all out. I just put me there. That's what I want to do.
Wonderful. Well, Warren, thank you so much for your time today. Do you have any last words that you'd like to share to anyone that you would like to come to the summit?
Well, I would encourage people that feel that they have a contribution to make in community development and world development to come and see what is going on, and particularly the people that are in the areas of sustainability and resilience in what community development is about. It's about a look to the future to ensure that we have done the right things to create a future that we'd all want to live in, even though we're not going to be there. And so I would encourage anybody that can make a contribution in that manner to be there. And if that contribution for you is that you can provide the funds or the coaching or the support to get those kinds of things done, then you need to be at the table. If you're the kind of person that wants to do the work on the ground, then come to the table. If you've got a project that you feel really needs to be done, then bring it to the table. That way we can increase the audience and attract the people that we all need to get this moving and create a sharing platform that really connects resources rather than simply an exchange.
Wonderful. Warren, thank you so much for your contributions and all your hard work in putting this summit together. And yes, we welcome anyone to come to the summit that's concerned about the way our economy is going and who wants to participate in building something new.
Well, thank you so much for having the chat with me, Tammy, and looking forward to seeing you in a couple, 3 weeks' time.
Wonderful. Thanks, Warren.
Okay. Bye-bye.